Hey guys, it's Wheezy and we're back with SnowRunner Season 10 Fix and Connect. So I've been using the Mack Defense M917 for a little while on the new British Columbia region in SnowRunner Season 10, and it's definitely not without its issues that need to be addressed. But one modder has already released a mod to fix these issues, so let's talk about the problem and whether or not this mod gets the Mack back on track. So the problem with this Mack Defense 917 is one that you might already be aware of, and that relates to the depth of the truck hitboxes around its axles, and this is decreasing the amount of ground clearance that the truck has. In most other trucks in the game, the chassis hitbox reaches no lower than the centre of the wheel axis, but the hitboxes in the Mack Defense reach well below the axles. The downside to this is that the Mack Defense drags on the ground more than other trucks, and whilst this is mostly fine on tarmac and hard packed dirt, this causes significant issues when driving through any kind of mud. Again, this has caused considerable frustration in using this truck to the point that it is borderline unusable and at the very least a wholly unreliable pick for any contract. The chances are you're going to get stuck at some point, maybe even before you've gotten out of the parking lot outside the garage in North Peak National Park, which is very muddy. I don't know if that's another bug because that mud isn't always a problem, but now and again when I leave the garage, the game sort of drops the truck into the mud and it drops so deep that you can't move. But that's a whole other topic entirely. But regardless, a modder named Naked Dave has released a fix for the Mack Defense 917 ground clearance, which you can find on mod.io. I'll leave a link down in the description. The mod is called the Mack Defense Ground Clearance Fix, and unfortunately they've only made it available as a manual install, which means the console players are going to be out of luck. Naked Dave gave his rationale for this. He said, "I would nuke the subscription button from orbit if I could. Doing it as a manual mod means it's not dependent on mod.io servers, and it instantly affects the Mack that you find on the map rather than requiring the player to sell it and buy a mod version of the truck. RIP console players, I guess, but they'll live." Now, I don't agree with this sentiment at all, and I do believe that the mod system within SnowRunner is a really good addition to the game. And I'd rather that Naked Dave had released a mod browser version as well as his manual install option, but that's not to be ungrateful. It is their mod and they can do it however they want, and I do want to thank Naked Dave for his work in creating this mod, so I just want to put that out there. So with all that said, to install this mod, you're going to need to make sure that you've got WinRAR installed. Navigate to the game folder, which for Steam players should be in your Steam folder, and then Steam Apps, Common, SnowRunner, Preload, Packs, and then Client. Inside that folder, you're going to find a file called shared.pack, and you're going to need to open this in WinRAR. I created a backup of shared.pack just in case, but regardless, open this file in WinRAR, then you're going to drag and drop the file from the mod into the shared pack file in WinRAR. So that's all you need to do. The mod file simply replaces the original in the shared.pack file. The truck will then just be updated in the game. When you next load your game, you're not going to need to enable anything in the mod browser. Now, I did some testing with the Mack both pre and post mod installation. I ran it through the mud testing area, and this involves driving through 4 different lanes of mud, each having a deeper and more difficult mud than the previous one. Without the mod, the Mack Defense got through the first lane in 18 seconds, the second lane in 35 seconds, so that's pretty simple so far, but it really started to struggle in the third lane, taking 2 minutes and 4 seconds to get through. When it got to the fourth lane, it simply ground to a halt and was unable to complete the lane. Post-mod installation tells a very different story. Lane 1 was done in 17 seconds, so no real difference, just 1 second. Lane 2 took 30 seconds, which is a small improvement. Lane 3 was done in just 43 seconds, which is a good bit quicker than the unmodded version of the truck, and Lane 4 took 3 minutes and 1 second, so it did actually make it through that lane this time. Now, out on the road and the trails of the main game, the Mack Defense M917 with this ground clearance fix is actually a pretty decent and reliable truck. It's not the most proficient, it's not on the same level as the Azov 6 for example, but it is far more versatile, being able to carry a 2-slot cargo bed with a loading crane whilst still being able to tow a trailer. But it's not a patch on the likes of the Azov 7, so it kind of reminds me of something like a Cat 680 in many ways. So it's actually a pretty decent truck, if not particularly stunning, but it does confirm to me that this ground clearance issue with the Mack was an oversight by the devs rather than a deliberate choice by them, because with this ground clearance fix, it hasn't suddenly turned the truck into some kind of crazy overpowered god truck. It's just a perfectly usable mid-tier truck. So I think this is how the truck should have been in the first place. I don't think that the devs intended to release it with such low ground clearance. If they did, I don't know why they would do that, because they basically gimped what was otherwise a perfectly usable truck. Without this mod, it's a truck that you're just going to go, it's just not worth using for the most part. There are other trucks that are similarly performant, you know, that middle tier truck that you were just going to use, like the Cat 680 instead. If you wanted that mid-tier truck experience, you're just not going to pick the Mack, put it back in the garage and never touch it again. So for all PC players, I do highly recommend that you install this mod if you can. Console players, though, I'm afraid you're going to have to wait for some kind of official fix or for someone else to make a mod version of this truck so that you can then install that via the mod browser. Right, that's it from me for this one. I hope you find it useful. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one.